Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I go by the name of Knowles, and this is my YouTube channel. As you guys can see today, I have a different guest as compared to having my sister, which is my baby bro. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is CP1 Domo. As you heard, I'm her baby brother. Actually, last born is Kaya, and yeah, nice to meet you all.
So today we are going to talk about what is our understanding of God basically, and it's I'm not gonna say oh and we're not trying, because I know this is like a sensitive topic for most people, and I don't want to put or paint a picture that we stating facts. It's just us sharing our own opinions, and you take it or you don't take it. It's really up to you. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, now, what would be your understanding of God, or what would be the first thing that you think about when someone mentions the word God to you?
Um, that's a nice question. So, my understanding of God, I'd say, firstly, I grew up in a Christian. We grew up in a Christian home, so that sort of painted a picture of what God is to me. But I'd say usually around the time when I went to varsity, that's when my perspective on God sort of changed, because I started understanding God more in spiritual terms. In terms of first thing I think about when I hear the word God, um, life, life.
Nice.
The reason I say that is because everything has God in it. You know, everything from the air that we breathe to the stars that we see at night. I won't go deep into the stars though. but but yeah, every literally everything has God, because if you actually take time to actually pay attention to nature, for example, you'll see how everything connects. You'll see how from the insects that are on the ground to birds feeding off of those insects. And I know it's sort of messed up, but it's just cycle of life, how God keeps things moving.
Yeah.
So for me, God is like this energy that's everywhere around us and within us as well. That's God for me.
Okay. Okay. I think you narrowed it down, but it does, because for some people this will be like new information.
Okay.
So when they will try maybe to understand, okay, what is he trying to say? It does need a deep explanation, but in a way you did clarify it.
Okay.
Because you did say Nityangi, God is about basically everything. Everything that's alive. God is life. And my belief in God is not actually far from that as well. For me, honestly, when I hear the word God, I think hope. You know? Yeah, I mean, it goes with a lot of things: is faith, peace, being a father, being a friend. But the first thing I think about is hope. I know how my past was, and even through that whole relationship with God, I'm able to see some things for me that are waiting for me in the future. We make mistakes, we grow, we learn, but at the end of the day, it's about you living a hopeful life, being hopeful, no matter what situation you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my that's my true go-to word.
When you think about God.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
So you mentioned something. You said you had one perspective of God when you were growing up, and then it changed over the years into varsity. What was your perspective when you were growing up of God?
Growing up, you know, I'd say I was taught that God is like a father figure, who's like watching over me. Um, I have to pray to him, I have to respect him and fear him because there's a lot of that going around, you must fear God. It's like this all-knowing being who's like up there watching over us, omnipotent, basically sort of governing our lives.
Yeah.
So that was my understanding growing up. From that perspective, I guess you could say I used to unconventionally pray, like have conversations with God. The older I grew, I started growing up. So I'd have conversations with him, like Engari, I'm talking to, a friend or someone who's just there to listen.
Yeah.
So with that, it sort of started this change in perspective of God, because now I wasn't, conforming to authority or talking to someone who's like bigger than me or bigger than life, watching. Now I was like confiding in someone who I can trust, who I can relate to, who can relate to me as well. And then that grew in a way to become to me seeing God as like a part of me, like
Yeah.
because now I wasn't just talking to someone else, I was talking to myself. But okay, I'm not saying that I'm God, not saying that I'm God, but like
But
God
we
is
are
within
God
me.
because God is within us,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
is outside,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we are made because, yeah, when I'm literal, you're right. I feel like people misunderstand God. Like you also right with the one growing up as well. I still strongly believe that's the kind of energy or higher conscious
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is. So when he started creating everything, all the creatures in the world, everything came through him. Therefore, everything is a part of him. It's like a piece of God in a way, which therefore makes it Witiande. It is God, you know. And please, guys, don't get it wrong. We're not saying Uti people now must walk with their heads up high. I'm God, so I need to pray to myself. No, it's a matter of you are part of God. You are a piece of God. So therefore, your whole energy is God, basically. You know.
Yes.
Okay. So now, would you say has anything changed? Okay, I know that you started seeing him differently. You started seeing him more of a friend than this entity that you needed to fear, that you needed to pray to.
Yeah.
But from that, would you say there's anything that changed, like in terms of maybe you say, no, I stopped praying like on my knees, formal prayer. I just have a conversation. That's the kind of prayer now. Or like reading a Bible. I used to read the Bible, but now I don't read the Bible because
It's funny you should ask that. Yeah, it did change. Like he was just mainly how I talk to him. So yeah, I used to go on my knees, pray that conventional way of closing my eyes. Now I just have like conversations. I could even be opening my eyes, just talking to him, riding a taxi, going somewhere, talking to him in my head. So that's the change. That became my prayer.
okay, that was one of the changes.
That was one of the changes. Yes.
Okay. Um, it's funny actually that you mentioned when you like recently you started seeing God more of a friend. And I think we've had this conversation before where I told you team now we all have our interesting past, guys, our traumatic experiences as children. And for me, because I did mention this, you should check out the other link. There's a video that I shot earlier this year. Sorry, not this year, end of last year. And I was talking about how I grew up, how I got to meet God. And for me, it was number one, mom used to force us to go to church. As we were kids, we used to be forced to go to church. Yeah. And I guess now I understand why, because through that I was introduced to God and her watching her also at home, she would read the Bible with constant prayers, praying at night, praying in the morning. And in Jay, like even when she speaks, sometimes you hear her speaking about God. So that sort of like gave me some sort of an idea who God is. And for me, growing up, I saw God as this person who's here, but I can't really see. And I felt so free to express what I was going through because it was so hard for me to tell people or confide in people, or express my true emotions. So therefore, I decided to confide in God. And I told my brother that I only actually realized in 2020 when I was having, or when I was going through my spiritual awakening, that as kids, you have an imaginary friend. Every child has an imaginary friend. You have that person you're always talking to, and you talk to them out loud. And people think, it's just they just being a child, they're playing. And that's when I realized with Kanje, that's where my relationship began with God, basically. So I saw him as a father. I saw him mostly as a friend because I was always like pouring out my issues, my concerns, and even good news. Like I was always telling him, "Oh, I can't believe this happened today." That's how the relationship basically grew. Like it became to that extent where like I would share pretty much anything. I didn't have to like pour out all the bad things happening to me, but like even good things as well. That's how, because he was a friend to me. And with that, I wasn't really into prayer, like the formal prayer that Christians know, and the one that you go on your knees and you pray. But for me, it was more of just having conversation with him.
Yeah.
And like even sometimes I'll be like, "Good morning, God. How you doing this morning? I hope you're doing great." Because me, my day, I'm not feeling this day today. So yeah, it was that type of a relationship.
Yeah.
And now, because I've had a sort of like a shift also as well, my perspective also sort of like shifted, but it wasn't that drastic. It was more of adding on top of what I already knew about God. Because now, as much as I was feeding him by having a conversation with him, he was also feeding me back, because I, like, literally, you feel it when he responds to you. You feel it when he answers you something you've been praying about. You even feel it when you have concerns. When you have constant thoughts running in your head and you have this question, and then something answers that question. That's how I saw him as responding to me. And yeah, like it hasn't changed much. It's just that now I see him as, wow, like he can literally be anything. Like God can literally be anything, and which makes it a whole new chapter basically, that I think in future we'll discuss about, but yeah, for me, yeah, he's always been a friend. I would say mostly he's always been a friend, a friend, you know. So yeah, I don't know if you wanna add something onto that.
Yeah, there is something that from my experience. Also, growing up, I did start challenging, sort of not challenging, but like having these small games with God. Like maybe maybe after writing a test, I'm like, God, okay, I'm gonna get like maybe this mark for this test, for example. Something like that actually happened this one time in varsity. We were doing the practicals, né? It was electrotechnology. So we're doing practicals for that. So the answer sheet here, I filled it in, but I didn't complete it. And then at the time I also had started meditation here.
Okay.
So during my meditation session, like after the practical test, mind you, I didn't finish the answer sheet itself. So after the practical test, I'm just there like in my room, sort of praying. In varsity, like if your marks are not that good, you need those practical marks to actually get ahead. So that was the case with me. I just needed as a marks area. So I remember sitting in my room like praying, meditating, just being in that state of godliness, I'd say.
Yeah,
Um, I was like, okay, God, just give me a mark that's enough, you know, just a mark that's enough for me to make it through. And the funny thing is, the following week we're getting our marks. I think it was on Tuesday. On Tuesday, that's what drinking marks did. I'd gotten like 100%. Yeah, I got it like 100%
Okay.
for that practical. It was, yeah.
Smart. He's smart.
But God had a hand in. God had a hand in there too. But thank
Yeah.
you, sir. So yeah, that was one of the experiences in my life that I can say I actually saw God's hand working, in my life. So yeah, I'll have these small like challenges with God. When I'm sure there are some more experiences that there's just that they're not coming to mind right now.
Yeah, the words are endless, guys. When it comes to God, it could be an endless conversation. Trust me, we can talk for hours.
But yeah, I'll be more than happy to share more on your channel, maybe next time. But for now, I think that's enough.
That's
That's
enough.
enough, yes.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for sharing your understanding, basically, of who God is. I think people have some sort of an idea where we're coming from when it comes to God. And for me, because recently now I've started this thing of reading the Bible. Every single day I'm reading the Bible because I'm trying to study His Word through the Bible. But I do not believe that is the only material that you can get or receive His Word, basically. Alright, guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you made it up until this far, that means you're trying to understand God, you're trying to sort of like get as much information from different places as you can to learn more about God. I'm happy that you stuck around, and until we see you next time, is there anything else you want to say? Peace. Bye. God love you. Take care. Bye.
Have a blessed week.